Is the market bottom in? Are we seeing a turnaround with Toronto real estate prices? That and so much more in this month's market update video. I'm Alex Kluge with Toronto Home Experts, and this is a friendly reminder to like this YouTube video, subscribe to our channel below, subscribe, comment, or share this video with anyone who might be interested. Thanks so much. Okay, so March 2026 is a fascinating month in real estate. And I'm going to answer those questions that I started at the top. Like, is the bottom in? Well, let's first talk about sales volume. Sales volume is up basically 1.7%, which is like really a rounding error. It's nothing to get excited about. And if you remember my March update from 2025, that was the lowest March on record for sales volume in the last 23 years. And so we just eked ahead of that. So it's nothing to write home about, that's for sure. But there's an interesting trend that's actually happening, and that's with active listings. Listings have come down pretty sharply, actually, compared to where they were last year. So that is a positive trend. But again, that typically happens. We see listings come, active listings, or the inventory get absorbed a little bit more rapidly during the spring market. And really, spring starts in March, ends, call it sometime in June, and then the summer months is a little bit of a lull, and then we see the fall market things pick up again from a volume and listing standpoint. So in a vacuum, there's nothing to get excited about. I don't see, this is certainly not a metric that I would say, oh yeah, definitely the market bottom is in. But what's interesting is active price, or average prices, I should say, are down roughly almost 7% from where they were last year. So, this is a trend that we've seen the last several months, and that prices have been down year over year. That certainly does not mean that all houses and all condos are down this by this percentage point year over year. But certainly condos have been hit harder than freehold. Some neighborhoods are holding up better than others. I know I've talked about this before, but a lot of the neighborhoods that are closer to downtown, like Midtown, the West End, Hyde Park, Junction, those areas are really, really popular still with buyers. Same goes with Riverdale, Beaches, East End, Danforth. Those areas are performing much better than areas that are a little bit further away from infrastructure like public transit. So, or like subways, I should say more specifically. So anyway, so that's one thing that I've noticed, is that it's not a blanket prices are down everywhere. That's actually not true. But, this, and some real estate bulls would say, wow, this is exciting. Month over month, average prices are up 8%. Annualized, that's whatever, pretty crazy amount. But no, that I'm not reading anything into this, and this is not telling me that rebound is imminent. February was basically just a friendly reminder for anyone who's maybe new to this channel. Average price is not something really that you can compare like for like, because you're comparing average prices of properties that were transacted in a specific month. So if you have more lower price properties, like as an example, condos, versus higher end properties that are detached or larger square footage, you have to sort of look at as a trend. I look at this as a trend, right? This is month one of a trend, so it's not a trend, right? But so effectively, we're seeing more activity in the freehold space. And so that, by virtue of that, we're seeing higher priced trades month over month. So therefore, the average price would show a little bit higher this month versus last month. Hopefully that clarifies. So, so again, thank you for watching this video. And to answer those questions that I talked about, at the beginning, I don't think the bottom is in. I think we're going to see a little bit more pain, so to speak, this year. One of the things that we've noticed is, and actually one of the things that I've certainly been picked up on is there's a lot of discussion about oil prices and the effect of inflationary pressures, right? And so, while it may be temporary because of the what's happening right now in Iran and the conflict in the Middle East, like certainly that's not great from a humanitarian perspective. Like there's been lives lost and like there's been a lot of damage and so forth to many people's livelihood. So that's obviously not great, but geopolitically, like high oil prices is not good for anyone, and so that I think is going to put some elongated pressures on Toronto real estate. For how long, who knows? But I think realistically, what I'm seeing is that still there's weakness in the real estate market. Like we're not seeing, like, once we see sales volumes really spike and jump comparatively from year over year, like that's going to be the first telltale sign that the market is coming back, and we're not seeing that, right? So like you can't just look at a vacuum like, oh, prices are up 8% from last month, right? Like that doesn't mean anything. So volumes are still down. And while there are certain indicators that would indicate that, there's more difficult times ahead, buyers, there's plenty of opportunity for buyers right now. Like the great part about being in this market as a buyer is that you're not really competing with a lot of other potential buyers. I mean, yes, there are some properties that are still selling multiple offers, but generally speaking, it's a much easier market to navigate from a buyer. And so there's better value potentially. So, anyone who's looking to buy in this market, I always tell them, like, you got to take a longer term perspective on this. Like, don't buy if you need to resell in 2 or 3, 4 years. Like, it's really tough to navigate that and where prices will be at that point. But if you're trying to get into the market, this is actually a really great time as a first-time home buyer. Now, if you're selling, you're going to have to be a little bit more patient, and you need some really good strategies to distinguish or differentiate yourself from your competition. And so that's what we're really seeing right now, is that the good properties or the well-marketed properties are selling faster than those that are just sitting, that are using, maybe a little bit more conventional methods. So anyways, I've rambled on enough for this month. Thank you again for tuning in. We love the questions. Please keep them up. And we look forward to seeing you again next month. Thanks so much. See you then. Bye-bye.